out that my friends created a group chat to mock me about my appearance, plan a prank, and made a bet. So I pretended not to know to continue all the fun. I'm Ron, and I'm currently living with a roommate, Emma. She is my younger sister's best friend, and I have known her since we were kids. Originally, my sister was living with us, but she left to study abroad, and now she lives there with her fiancé. It's her late aunt's apartment, so she lets me stay there without paying rent, but we share bills and chores great deal if you ask me. I never had a problem with me and Emma living together. There were never any romantic feelings either way. I respected her boyfriends, and she respected my girlfriends. I think of her as part of my family, like a sister. 2 months ago, while she was taking a shower, I saw a notification on her phone with my name on it. I looked at it, and it said I found the perfect girl for Ron's prank. I got curious and opened her phone since I knew her passcode. There I saw how basically all are mutual friends, except a few I had from my army days and my childhood best friend who lives in another city, were all members of a group chat that started a month ago. And there they were all sharing memes and gifs mocking me about my appearance, and basically I became equivalent of ugly to them. I couldn't understand why they were so mean since I genuinely thought we had a good relationship and friendship. As I was scrolling all the way back, I found out that everything started after my roommate told one of her friends that she's so horny, she's thinking of ing the old and fat hobo who's sleeping on our rooftop sometimes. Her friend replied that I'm single too, and she could F me, and my roommate answered that she's not that desperate yet, and they both share laughing emojis and stuff. Then they kept at it by posting puking emojis when they talked about how they imagined I had intimacy. Then other friends started getting into the joke, and soon they created an entire group just so they could share humiliating posts about me. They even started using "I'd rather" of the hobo as an inside joke, which I heard them say a few times but didn't know what it meant until now. I was standing there reading all these comments, feeling numb and not knowing how to react. They also planned to put a prank on me. They would have a really pretty girl flirt with me and ask me out, and when I would go on the date, she would stand me up, and they would have a bet on how long would I wait for her. Obviously, since I knew their plans, I rejected the girls' advances too. I imagine all of them surprised. Now, I'm not insecure about my appearance. I know I'm not good looking, but I never had trouble finding girls, and despite what they wrote, they didn't make me feel ugly or sorry for myself. I'm just hurt that they would do something like that, since I never did anything to warrant such mockery. Of course, I'm more hurt about Emma, and I'm mostly confused since I know she cares a lot about me. 3 years ago, I had a motorcycle accident, and she practically slept in the hospital for the 10 days I was there. After we came back home, she helped me all the time until I got better, so I don't know why she would do something so mean towards me personally. I think it was just a joke comment that got out of hand. After that, I stopped hanging out with them. I started using work as an excuse, but I limited my interactions with all of them, including Emma. If I knew they'd be at home, I'd stay longer at work or go for a walk until they left, or I'd go out with my other friends. If they suggest a night out, I'd say I was tired from work or sick and wouldn't go. I cried a few times. I stayed home thinking about the whole situation. Emma asked me the other day if everything was all right, and I told her I had some pressure at work since I'm aiming for a promotion. That's not a lie. Actually, our company is opening a new branch in another city, and I was originally asked to relocate there, but I declined since I would be all alone and had to start my social circle from zero. But after that, I talked with my boss, and I agreed to relocate once the facilities are ready, which is January 2025 according to schedule. I haven't told anyone about this yet. About a week ago, I once again looked at her phone to see if they keep the group chat there. I saw that they kept making fun of me, but some of them pointed out that I stopped interacting with them and wondered if I was all right or if something happened to me. One even asked if there's a chance I knew about them making fun of me, but they all dismissed that, saying they hadn't said anything, and they even dared to say that even if I knew, it's all harmless. Anyway, Emma told them about my promotion, and that convinced them that I'm just stressed about work. And then they continued mocking me with memes time about my job. I don't even know their motives at this point. I don't get it all. I realize that there's no going back anymore, but I also realize that in the last 2 months I haven't had any fun. So my plan now is to keep pretending I don't know anything, but start hanging out with them again. Because since I won't see them anymore after 5 months, I can at least have some fun. I used to like going out with them, so for the next few months, I can pretend they're still my friends. We actually do plan to go out all together to see a movie and then for some drinks. When the time comes and I'm ready to leave, I'll leave without informing anyone, including Emma. Once I'm out and away, I'll block them all. Besides Emma, since I care about her and want her to know that despite anything, I'm there for her. And if anyone tries to contact me or pretend they care about me leaving, I'll simply send Emma the screenshots of their chat, and I hope this will shut them up. I do have friends outside the group. I have my army brothers whom we meet twice a month and message a lot, who I know have my back as I have theirs, and my best friend who lives in another city and will be very close to me after I leave. It's basically an hour of driving. We talk daily, and I think he'll be excited once he finds out I'm going to be so close to him. The people in the group chat are mostly our mutual friends from university or past jobs. Not all of them talk bad about me, but they're all members there, so I guess it's the same in a way. They usually hang out at our place where we watch movies and play board games. I feel bad for losing them, but it doesn't compare to the thought of losing my best friend or my army brothers. About my sister, I didn't tell her because then she would tell Emma and then they'd all know, which is what I've been trying to avoid. If I wanted them to know, I'd tell them. I'm not afraid to tell them because I'm desperate for their friendship. No, I don't want to tell them because I don't want the drama. I want to avoid it. I work more now in my job to learn my new role, so the last thing I want is to deal with all that drama of fake apologies, etc. I'd rather be just me pretending I don't know than all of them pretending they're sorry. After weeks of pretending everything was normal, my frustration just kept growing. It was unbearable to see Emma and the others acting like nothing had happened, as if I were still the clueless idiot who didn't know what was really going on. Every laugh, every casual comment, every time they used those inside jokes that I now fully understood, only fueled my disdain for them. But, as I had planned, I started hanging out with them again, playing their game. If they wanted to mess with me, then I was going to be the master of the game. At first, Emma seemed relieved. I think, in her mind, she convinced herself that my distance was just me going through a rough patch. She even suggested we go out more often, plan movie nights, and even a weekend getaway. They really believed that everything was fine, that the gullible Ron was back, clueless and unaware of what was happening right under his nose. One night, during one of our hangouts, Emma, a little tipsy, raised her glass for a toast. To our friend Ron, finally relaxing from all the work stress. Everyone laughed and cheered, as if I were nothing but a living joke to them. I looked at each one of them, smiling on the outside, but inside I was ready to unleash my final plan. They thought they had control, but they had no idea what was coming. That same night, after we returned to the apartment, something inside me shifted. I was tired of just observing. I decided I needed more proof, more ammunition for the final blow. That's when I started recording my conversations with Emma. I needed something concrete, something that wouldn't just expose the group, but would shatter the mask Emma wore, the person I once considered family. I wanted to see just how far this would go. It didn't take long for me to capture something incriminating. One night, after one of our game nights, I was in the kitchen and overheard Emma on the phone with one of her friends, laughing about how Ron looked like a lost puppy trying to fit into the conversation. The worst part? She said it so casually, as if I were nothing. There was the real Emma, the one I had refused to believe existed, now laid bare in front of me. I kept gathering information, but instead of confronting them right away, I decided to bide my time and make my exit more dramatic. Since I knew I was leaving for another city in January due to my promotion, I planned my departure with the precision of a strategist. My idea was simple. They would never see me coming. One night, after months of pretending everything was fine, I decided it was time. We had planned a big night out, watch a movie, and then head to a bar for drinks. Their plan, as always, was just another excuse to mock me behind my back. I knew this would be the perfect moment for my final move. The night started off smooth. Everyone was having fun, laughing, making the usual jokes, and I, of course, playing along as if I was still part of the group. But inside, I was ready. After the movie, we went to the bar, and that's when things got interesting. In the middle of the conversations, when they least expected it, I opened up the group chat on my phone. Every disgusting comment, every meme, every inside joke about me was right there. I looked at Emma and calmly said, "You guys thought I didn't know, didn't you?" The silence was immediate. They all stared at me, wide-eyed, not knowing how to respond. I continued, "Yeah, I know everything. Every comment, every joke, every plan you made to humiliate me. And I let you think you were winning this whole time." Emma, pale, tried to say something, but I cut her off. "I don't want to hear your excuses. You're not my friends. You never were. But I outsmarted every single one of you." I held up my phone, showing them the screenshots I had taken of the group chat, the comments, the conversations Emma had participated in. "I'm leaving in 5 months, and you'll never hear from me again. When I walk out of here, I'm blocking all of you. You can keep your pathetic jokes, but not with me anymore." Emma tried to apologize, but I was done. "You were the only one I trusted, Emma, and you betrayed me in the worst way possible. The worst part? You all thought it was harmless, but it wasn't, and I'll make sure you never forget it." I walked out of the bar without looking back. On my way home, adrenaline coursed through my veins. I knew from that moment on, nothing would ever be the same. I got home, packed my things, and without saying a word to anyone, I left that night. I didn't leave a note, no explanation. The next morning, I blocked all of them except Emma, because I knew she would still try to redeem herself somehow. And when the first fake apology came, I'd be ready with the screenshots to tear down whatever was left of the trust between them. I still had my real friends, the army brothers who had my back no matter what, and my best friend who would be living close to me when I moved. They were all I needed. As for the rest, they didn't deserve another second of my time. I was moving on, starting fresh, and they would be left behind, stuck with the weight of their own consciences. If they even had any. The years have been generous to me in many ways. When I left that city, I carried more than just bitter memories. I left with a quiet determination, a will to prove to myself that the Ron they underestimated would succeed, not to show them, but to free myself from everything that had once held me back. Over time, I built my empire from scratch. I started with a small consulting business, using the promotion that took me to another city as a springboard for new opportunities. People recognized my hard work, my leadership skills, and within a few years, my company had grown exponentially. At some point, I had accumulated enough to live comfortably, but what drove me wasn't just money. It was the feeling of being in control of my own life, of having left behind what once made me feel small. My appearance had changed too. I was no longer the guy who neglected his health and body. I started working out and taking better care of myself, not to meet anyone's expectations, but to feel good in my own skin. My style changed, my posture, my confidence. The transformation was so significant that I knew if I ran into those people again, they wouldn't recognize me at first. Alongside financial success, I also found true love. My wife, Clara, was unlike anyone I had met before. She respected me, supported me, and above all, saw me for who I truly was, a man who had overcome a difficult past and built a successful life without stepping on anyone. With her, I found peace and fulfillment. So when the opportunity arose to return to my old city for business, something inside me hesitated. I knew I had nothing left there, that those people were a reflection of a past I had long moved on from. But curiosity tugged at me. After all, fate had called me back, even if only for a brief moment. I arrived in the city on a sunny afternoon. After a few successful business meetings, hunger struck, and I decided to stop at a small diner near where my former friends and I used to hang out. I didn't think much of it, just a quick stop for a meal. As soon as I walked in, something about the place felt familiar, but I didn't dwell on it. I ordered a sandwich and waited, checking messages on my phone. When the waitress brought my order, I noticed her giving me a different kind of look, almost flirtatious. Something about her seemed familiar too, but I couldn't place it at first. I sat down to eat, but I could feel her eyes on me, and soon another one of her colleagues came over to talk as well. They started making subtle compliments about my appearance, how successful I seemed. I found it amusing, but didn't give it much thought. When I finished my meal, one of them approached and, with a smile, handed me a piece of paper with her phone number. "In case you need company later," she said with a suggestive glance. That's when it all clicked. I looked at her more closely, and suddenly, the memories came flooding back. She was one of those people who had been part of the group that ridiculed me all those years ago. Those same smiles that now tried to seduce me were the ones that mocked me back then. My eyes scanned the diner, and to my surprise, other employees, there were also familiar faces. People who had once been part of that group of friends. Fate had a funny way of bringing us face to face with our past, and there I was, seeing them all working in that small diner, living lives completely different from mine. Without anger, just mild surprise, I picked up the piece of paper and looked at the waitress. "You don't remember who I am, do you?" I asked, my voice calm and controlled. She looked confused for a moment, trying to figure it out, then shook her head. "I'm Ron," I said, "the guy you all thought wasn't worth anything. The one who was the butt of your jokes." The silence that followed was heavy. I could see the confusion and shock slowly dawning on her face. She glanced at her co-workers, searching for an explanation, but they, too, had started to realize who I was. The shame was visible in her eyes, and I could sense it from the others too. I could have kept going. I could have confronted each of them, reminded them of every joke, every insult they threw at me years ago. But honestly, in that moment, I realized none of it mattered anymore. The revenge, the need to prove something, that was all gone. I had already won, not because I was in a better position, but because I had made peace with my past. I had built a life far beyond any of the pain they once caused. I placed a piece of paper with her number on the table and said with a calm smile, "Don't worry, I'm at peace with all of it." I stood up, straightened my jacket, and walked out of the diner without looking back. As I headed back to my hotel, a sense of relief washed over me. I didn't need to deliver a sermon, or confront them, or even get any kind of closure. The real victory wasn't seeing them in lesser positions. It was knowing I had risen above it. I had an incredible wife waiting for me, a thriving business, and a life full of purpose. And most importantly, I knew who I was. The past. It was exactly where it belonged, buried and insignificant. I moved on with my life, knowing that sometimes the best kind of revenge is simply living well, while those who wronged you remain stuck in what they could have been.